In 2025, I've made it my mission to regulate my nervous system. I want to feel better. I took the first step in this mission by scheduling an appointment with a naturopathic doctor. She did a deep dive into my blood work, and sure enough, red flags were everywhere. She asked me if I felt tired. My answer was yes, but I still continue to get everything done. Even thinking that makes me sad. It meant that I would make sure all the work and everyone else was taken care of before myself. I've operated like that for so long that it's going to take more than just a couple of months of intention to change. But that's okay. I am committed to it. And in this episode, I'm sharing my current journey to a regulated nervous system, why our nervous systems matter, and some of the habits I've built to become more regulated. If you struggle with excess stress, high cortisol, and unwanted anxiety, I hope my story encourages you to regulate your nervous system as well. So, I have only recently started sharing my health journey with the City Girl Savings community, and that's mostly because things got so bad that I sought out help from medical professionals. First, a gastroenterologist, then a therapist, and most recently, a naturopathic doctor. For the first time in years, I finally feel and look better. So I actually sought out the gastroenterologist to get some direction on my gut health. This was back in 2023. I knew things were off, but I couldn't pinpoint why or how. And I was basically told to eat more fiber. So after doing that for a year and a half, I decided to see a naturopathic doctor, but for other reasons. However, this naturopathic doctor helped me see that my gut was inflamed. And it's been about 4 months since this realization. And over the course of that 4 months, I've gone gluten and dairy free. My bloating is nowhere near where it was, and I do feel better overall. Not to mention, I'm down over 16 pounds. So, transitioning a little bit, I saw a therapist again a few months after my mom died. I knew that I needed the mental health support, and I was absolutely right. I worked with her for a year, so all of 2024, and then unfortunately, my insurance changed, and I'm currently on the hunt for a new therapist. My naturopathic doctor actually suggested therapy, seeing as my nervous system was out of whack. And after really giving it some thought, I realized that I have been in fight or flight mode for over 12 years. My dad's unexpected passing back in 2013 was the trigger. When he died, I made work my entire reality. Of course, I make time for relationships and physical activity, but the root of my existence has been the work I do. First, it was securing my current job after moving back to Austin, which was growing the ranks in corporate America. Then it was managing and shutting down the businesses that my dad left behind. Then it was starting my own business and growing it. Then it was leaving corporate America to run my own business full time. Now it's making sure the business, and the business I'm referring to as City Girl Savings, stays successful enough for me to live my current lifestyle. So for the past 12 years and until just recently, my nervous system hasn't gotten any rest. And now my body has been sending me all the signals to slow down. Ask me 2 years ago if I thought slowing down was an option, and I would have laughed in your face. I guess the joke is on me. I understand now that if we do not prioritize slowing down and regulating our nervous system, our body will force us to. I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to who tell me, oh, I had been pushing, and then I got sick and I couldn't do anything. I myself have been in that situation a couple of times, and that's exactly what I mean. If we do not take it upon ourselves to be proactive with slowing down and regulating our nervous systems, our body is going to force us to. It's going to shut down on its own. It's going to take us out, and we're going to have no choice but to rest and recharge. So now that I've kind of broken down my experience with this, I want to talk about why your nervous system matters, why nervous systems in general are so important for everybody. So, your nervous system is like the command center of your body. It controls everything from how you react to stress to how you digest food. It regulates your heart rate, processes emotions, and at its core, the nervous system has two main modes. So, first we have the sympathetic nervous system. This is commonly known as the fight or flight response, and this mode activates when you face stress or danger. It prepares your body to take action by increasing your heart rate, releasing stress hormones, and redirecting energy to essential functions like muscle activity. And while this is very helpful in short bursts, staying in this mode for too long can lead to chronic stress and burnout. So you can imagine being in fight or flight mode for 12 years, how stressed and burnt out my body was and still is, because it's going to take a lot more than just a couple of months to undo all of that. Anyways, the next main mode is the parasympathetic nervous system. So, this is known as the rest and digest mode. This is the state your body enters when you are relaxed and calm. It supports healing, digestion, and overall balance in your body. This mode is where your body thrives. But many of us struggle to spend enough time here due to our never ending responsibilities and busy schedules. On top of that, if we don't get enough sleep every night, the parasympathetic nervous system really doesn't get a chance to heal and give your body the energy and rejuvenation it needs. So, as you can imagine, burnout will surely follow. So, let's now transition to the impact of chronic stress on the nervous system. So, when your nervous system is constantly in this fight or flight mode, it never gets a chance to rest. And over time, this can lead to physical, emotional, and mental health issues, including gut problems like myself, fatigue, low energy, a weakened immune system, and mental health challenges. Chronic stress disrupts digestion, which can lead to issues like bloating, inflammation, and poor nutrient absorption. Again, that's me. I am sad to say that is exactly what happened to me. I had been in this fight or flight mode for so long, for years and years, it started to look like a growing midsection on my body and poor digestion. And I wondered why I couldn't lose weight, even though I was eating relatively decently and working out 5 days a week. I had been working out 5 days a week for over a decade. It took me finally seeing that naturopathic doctor to learn the importance of regulating my nervous system and combining that with proper nutrition to actually heal my inflamed gut. But in addition to digestion issues, you could experience chronic fatigue. I mean, your body is constantly burning resources to stay alert. And that will leave you feeling drained or exhausted, no matter how much rest you seem to get. And not only that, stress suppresses your body's ability to fight off illnesses and infections. So if you're always getting sick, if you always have a cold, if you get the flu, if you always seem to be ill, your nervous system may need some regulation. Also, anxiety, irritability, and depression are often linked to prolonged nervous system dysregulation. So, as depressing as all of that sounds, and remember, I'm right here in the mix with you if any of this applies to you. As depressing as all of that may sound, the good news is that you and we all can train our nervous systems to spend more time in that rest and digest mode. Even when life feels chaotic, I think regulating our nervous systems can really help us in so many ways. We can feel calmer and more in control no matter what life throws at us. We can improve our physical health and get better sleep, more restorative sleep. We can have better digestion. We can build resilience. And resilience is everything. This allows you to really bounce back after something stressful more quickly. And I think most importantly, we can enjoy a sense of peace and balance that really makes it easier for us to focus on the things that matter most to us. And I think, being intentional with working to regulate our nervous system is everything. You're not just improving your mental and emotional health, but you are giving your entire body the care it needs to really function at its best. And if you're anything like me, you're probably spinning a lot of plates. You probably have a lot going on. You've probably committed to a lot of things. There's probably a lot of things you want to do. So, making sure that our bodies function the way they need to, function at the best possible output is going to be a game changer for all of the things that we get done. So, how do we do that? How do we regulate our nervous system? Well, let's talk about it. Here are some ways that you can regulate your nervous system. First, practice deep breathing exercises. This was actually a suggestion from my naturopathic doctor, and what a difference deep breathing makes, especially when you're, in a stressful or panic situation. Taking a second to just stop and breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply really does make you feel better. So she actually walked me through an exercise of breathing in for 4 seconds, holding in for 7 seconds, so holding that breath in, and then breathing out for 8 seconds. Every time I take the chance to do this breathing exercise, I instantly feel better. Deep breathing really activates that parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. And that helps to promote relaxation and calm down our anxious thoughts, our anxious feelings, the stress. Some other breathing exercises to look into include diaphragmatic breathing and box breathing. So, take it slow. We don't have to do anything crazy. If you have an Apple Watch, set up the breathe alert to go off and deep breathe, multiple times a day. Start with 5 minutes a day of deep breathing and just build on from there, and you'll see a difference. This is definitely something I'm trying to be more intentional with on a regular basis. I know the importance, I feel the importance of deep breathing every time I do it. Now I just need to do it more. The next way to regulate our nervous systems is to prioritize rest and sleep. So I actually used to think that getting 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep every night was sufficient, but turns out our bodies actually need closer to 7.5 to 8 hours to really get the benefits for a regulated nervous system. So quality sleeps promotes growth of our brain and muscles, it repairs our nervous system, and it just boosts our overall health. And it's an essential part of really feeling our best on a day-to-day basis. The best quality sleep comes from a completely dark room and not looking at screens, so phone, TV, Kindle, for about an hour before going to bed. I will admit the screen recommendation is tough for me to stick to. Not only are we so wired to check our phones all the time, but I personally like having the sound of like a comforting TV show to go to bed. So, I understand this might be a hard one to implement, but I'm right there with you trying to implement it. We're just so wired to check our phones, to look at screens, but it's really messing with our nervous system. So we got to be better about it. So try to create a bedtime routine that really helps you properly wind down for the day so that you can get those 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep needed for optimal health. Another way to regulate your nervous system is to engage in gentle movement regularly. So if you have been in the City Girl Savings community a while, you'll likely know that my mom died of a terminal illness back in 2023. And it was such a stressful time for me, as well as my brother and my uncle. But one thing that really helped calm me down and feel at ease as much as I actually could in that time was walking at my local park every morning. So I would kind of start my day, start the day in general with a sunrise walk in the park, and being in nature, watching that sunrise, getting that fresh air, just hearing the sounds of just nature really made me feel alive and hopeful despite what I was experiencing, right? And That was back in 2023. And to this day, I've made it a point to always start my weekday in the park, sometimes on weekends, but Monday through Friday, you can catch me at the park. It's definitely a habit I've continued to take on because of how good it makes me feel. So, when you are looking to regulate your nervous system, it's so important to prioritize consistent, gentle movement. So, it could be walking like I do, it could be a low impact activity like yoga or just stretching. Any of these things can really help you feel calm and centered. And while this may not be the ideal type of movement for like weight loss or maintenance, that's not the point. The point is to regulate our nervous system. So, the goal for this type of movement is to feel restorative, not exhausted. Another way to regulate our nervous system is to cultivate mindfulness. So, what does that mean? Well, the mind is a powerful thing. It can go a million miles a minute. And while that may be useful in some instances, it's not useful when we're trying to regulate our nervous systems. The practice of calming your mind, whether that's through meditation or deep breathing, can really help you reduce stress overall and foster a regulated nervous system. So, again, meditating. I personally like the Balance app. I think that's a great one. Mindful eating, journaling, short guided meditations or affirmations on YouTube. These are all simple ways to cultivate mindfulness into your daily life so that you can really get that calm, that rest that your body needs, that your nervous system needs. And then finally, nourish your body with intentional choices. Okay, so the final way to regulate your nervous system is to fuel your body with proper nutrition. As I mentioned earlier, my fight or flight state of being for so long led to some very severe gut issues, and I'm still working through them. I had to completely cut out dairy and gluten. I had to get on an expensive supplement routine, and I had to work very hard to remove all of that excess bacteria in my gut. If you can get to the point of avoiding all of that, so you don't have to go through that same situation, please do. Start implementing dietary changes today that can reduce overall inflammation and really just support a balanced nutrition. So, things like limiting caffeine, something very hard for me, but I'm trying. Eating whole natural foods and just avoiding sugar and alcohol whenever possible can make a huge difference. For me, making these changes really helped me feel better. But not only that, the excess weight I did put on as a result of a dysregulated nervous system has started to come off. And that feels amazing. Not only do I feel better, but I look better. And like I mentioned, I am still on this journey. I still have a lot to do, but I can already see the benefits and really speak to how important this is for us and our overall well being. So, regulating my nervous system will absolutely be an ongoing process, but that is okay. Small, consistent actions to de stress will go a long way. And I'm committed to making sure that I can keep my stress levels under control. And I really hope you will join me in that as well.